Hello, my friend. Welcome to Yoga in Your Living Room. My name is Brentan. I'm here with Ollie.
Hi, everyone.
And we're here with another yoga class for you today, where the majority of what we'll be doing is just rolling around on some trusted tennis balls. So grab a tennis ball. If you have a yoga block, grab that as well. And let's get started on our back. You don't need your block for right now. But let's take the ball and let's start with the ball underneath the right foot. So the soles of the feet on the ground and the ball underneath the right foot. And we'll start to roll out a little bit there. As this happens, start to take a few deep breaths. Give it as much pressure as you can here. Because really what the tennis ball is helping us to do is sort of reestablish the brain's relationship with this area. So we really want to get all the surfaces, and if you find something that feels tender, we're going to try to find these spots today where it's like it hurts so good. That's what we'll be going after. So we need to become very mindful of our sensations. And that's why it's important to breathe nice and deep. Let's go ahead and switch it up. Take it underneath the left foot. See if you can kind of kick it from one foot to the other. If you lose it, don't worry. And I can feel on the ball, the arch of my foot. It's pretty tender in there, so I'm just kind of trying to lean into that a little bit. So what we find is that when we're patterned in a certain way, like we always walk like this, we always sit like this, if we're patterned and we're kind of stuck or frozen in those positions, the brain is used to working certain muscles in a certain way, not working other ones. So here we're sort of, imagine this is the time where you shake the Etch-a-Sketch clean. Everything that the brain thinks or understands about the body and its tissues. See if you can kind of kick the ball up towards one of your hands and reach down and grab it. And then with the feet on the ground, we'll lift the hips up. We'll take the ball, this time underneath the low back, right off the right side of the sacrum. And so when you sit down you come down on the ball, your entire pelvis is off the floor because the ball is underneath it, supporting it. And right away here, feel how tender this is. Start to move around like you're tracing the perimeter of your sacrum with the tennis ball. So we know that our sacrum, it's right in between those little back dimples, if you've ever seen those on yourself. It's this fusion of low back bones. And if you are somebody who tends to anteriorly tip in the pelvis, which means that as you walk around, if you tend to have the top of your pelvis kind of spilling forward, like your belly spilling forward, and your tailbone kind of sticking out the butt, what happens is that these muscles around the sacrum kind of lock short a little bit. And so if you are that type of person, you might feel a lot of that hurts so good sensation. Take some slow, deep breaths here, and you decide how much of your body weight you give to the ball. So if it ever feels too much, see if you can add a little bit more strength and lift off the ball a little bit. Let's take it to the other side now. And as you maneuver it over there, it may take you a moment or two to just find where the other side of your sacrum is. And then again, tracing up and down. You can move more into the spine or away from the spine as well. Looks like Ollie was even doing some like rocking of the pelvis. You could even rock your pelvis a little bit if you find some good spots. Imagine that this is your brain's time to reestablish how it relates to the low back. You're giving it new information here. All right, let's take the ball and take it up above the pelvis, still at what I would call the low back, maybe like the mid-low back. Here we're getting into a muscle called the Quadratus Lumborum, or the QL. You may have heard of it. And that's more like a rectangle at the low back that is responsible for all types of core movements. Like literally every movement that the spine can do, the QL helps facilitate that movement from this low back portion. And so some of us, our QLs might be a little bit sleepy. Some of them might be used to working in a certain way all the time, every day. And so here, we're getting the brain to realize like, hey, maybe there's other ways of using this puppy. Is there more productive, useful ways? Just take some slow, deep breaths. Try to get yourself really calm here, because that calmness is where your brain feels safe to explore all of these things. Let's take it over to the other side in the low back and do the same thing. Right above your pelvis, so you're not on any bone here, doesn't feel like it. And get as close to the spine as you can. And then even as far away towards the edges as you can. We're going to get into all of this back tissue back here. So maybe you've heard of fascia. Fascia is a spiderweb looking encasement around the muscles. And it's actually continuous throughout the entire body, which means that it's not separated by muscle. There are different layers of our fascia. They do different things. Some of them do encase organs and muscles and kind of hug onto them. But our superficial fascia is more like a big sheath that wraps around everything. And so that's why you can roll out your foot and feel more space in the back of your legs and your back, because what we're doing here is opening up that fascia. Let's go ahead, take the ball out, take the pelvis down to the floor, and observe. We will come back down to our back, but before to do our shoulders and our neck. But while we do our ribs, let's do that in a different position. So go ahead and come on up to tabletop position in any way that feels good to you. Could take even like 30 seconds or so. Everything feeling good for you, my baby? Very good, yeah. Okay. When you come up, let's roll out the hands a little bit. Same as the feet. Same, other side, other hand. And before we do our ribs, because imagine it starts at the hand and then it's traveling all the way up. Let's do our forearm. And a couple of sides of the forearm. And it doesn't have to be a lot, just the tactile, just the skin on the ball will stimulate those neurons in the brain and remind the brain that this is all usable. This is all fair game for the brain to learn how to use. So second forearm. All right, let's grab the ball. And let's come into a modified gate pose or modified side plank. So the left knee's gonna stay down, the right leg's gonna travel out, with the pelvis coming right up to stack over the left knee. And if this left hand doesn't feel good on the floor, rise it up onto something like maybe even a step stool. So here, you gotta find the position of your limbs where it feels okay for you to just dangle through the head and neck and feel exposed on the front of your body, but plugged in. So that now you can take the ball up to your right rib cage and start to gently roll it around there. And maybe your shoulder mobility might limit you here. That's okay. If you had a friend at home, you could ask your friend to come be that person who helps get you rolled out all the way. If you don't have a friend, maybe this just motivates you to get some really good shoulder mobility. But go in circular motions on the front side of the ribs, the side. You can move it all the way up. Could you get it? By golly, into the armpit. Holy crap. And coming out of that whenever that feels good to you. Is that okay? Could you get all the way up into the armpit? Okay. Let's do the other side. So take a moment to get into your modified gait with the pelvis up over that right knee. Sometimes it takes me a while to sort of feel myself plugged into a position, and so you gotta respect the time it takes you to arrive someplace. So feel in here, like, what's it gonna be? Starting at the lowest part of the ribs. And it will feel good it'll feel best, let's say, the more that you feel plugged in with the shape of the position. Make sure you're getting everywhere you can in those ribs. In our ribs, we got muscles that are kind of like fingers in between each rib. And so some of our ribs are really used to moving. Others of our ribs are not so used to moving, or they're only used to moving in one direction. So see if you can get all the way up. How's your mobility on this side? Oh, the side of the ribs. Could you get to the back of the ribs? Alrighty, let's come on down from there. Staying just in a seated position and moving across the body to open through the chest here. So rolling the ball around the front of the armpit. And if you are somebody who is like this person, right? This is going to probably be locked and kind of clenching. The brain is used to clenching and putting a lot of pressure here. So as you do this, try to take deep breaths and see if you can get yourself so that the brain starts to understand, like, oh, this can relax and it can open. And you could even do this lying on your belly on the floor. So if you're that person, maybe I would recommend doing that after this practice. You can take it like literally on the collarbone. That feels weird, but the collarbone, we get things moving, massaging around the collarbone, we stimulate lymph movement, and lymph is our drainage. It's all of our waste products. So it's good to get that stuff moving to the other collarbone. And then to the other chest. I'm going to be conservative. I'll just do the other side again because that's where my mic is. Alrighty, time to come back down to the back. Let's make sure that we have that yoga block. If you have one, if you don't, that's okay. Have that close by. And then we'll come down to the back again. Now I think we're ready to probably get into the back of the shoulders. So let's see how this works. This can be, kind of as intense as it was when when your body weight's on it, it gets more intense than if you're just rolling it around. So we're gonna rock to one side, take the ball to the inside of one shoulder blade. And I like to kind of peek it in from above the shoulder there. So I start at the top. When I roll back over the ball, I wanna make sure that it doesn't feel like it's on any bone mass. So I'm trying to find the sweet spot between the shoulder blade bone and the spine. Now, when this happens here, see if your chin is jutting up towards the sky and you feel really pinched on the back of the neck. We want to get a little bit more length there. So if you feel like you want to get up on a pillow, you could put your head up on a pillow or even on that yoga block. And then from here, you can, to facilitate some movement, don't be afraid to use your entire body. You could scooch your booch up and down. Don't be shy about moving in the arm and the shoulder. And we're again just trying to find that feels so good thing. Our brain has a ton of tendencies when it comes to this area. Each one of us totally unique and different based on what we do every day, what our movement history has been. And so feel out for yourself here. The most effective strategy is going to be you're the one who's going to be finding that. And so feel free to really experiment here till you find those places that quote unquote feel so good, or no, not feel so good, hurt so good. And get calm and breathe into them. When you're ready to switch your side, roll, remove the ball, roll to the other side, replace the ball. And it's good to try a variety of things. Try relaxing into the ball. And then try rolling your shoulder up and down over the ball. Maybe then moving the arm and the shoulder around and seeing how that feels. You can keep going there for a few moments. Our last move together will be to release the neck with a yoga block. And if you don't have a yoga block at home, if you have 2 tennis balls, then you can put them in a sock and it will create like this, it'll hold them together so that you can put the sock underneath your head and you can roll it up and down underneath your neck. So you might like that. But if you have your yoga block, we'll do away with the ball for now. And instead we'll take the yoga block. We'll use one of our hands to lift our head. And we'll take the yoga block under the head at the lowest height. Now, we are going to release the neck here actually using the edge of the yoga block. So if you have the shoulder mobility to grip the block behind, like with your elbows up and you're gripping the block with your hands, try to maneuver it so that it's on an edge. So that one edge is on your yoga mat and you're holding it in the air and the other edge is lifting up under the head. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. So now you have the edge of this yoga block lifting the back of your skull, and it's actually stretching out the portion where your skull and your neck attach to each other. So that can get very short on the backside if you have kind of a sunken chest. Because if you are walking around with your chest rounded forward and sunken all day, what that means is that anytime you want to look up, which you do all the time, you end up looking up from your chin. And when you look up from your chin, you shorten this spot on your neck. So now keep this spot really open, but just start to turn the chin a little bit to the left and then to the right. And if you get a juicy spot where there's a lot of sensation, pause. And then releasing the block down to the floor in its lowest height, the head up on the block, and then seeing if we can release the arms down by the side for Shavasana. So see if your head is comfortable like this. If it's not comfortable like this, you can place it on a pillow or on the floor. But with the head raised like this, you get the added benefit of the back of the neck lengthening. And when your head is elevated, see if it's easy for your chest to feel really grounded and open. Keep your chin tucked into your throat, the back of your neck lengthening. See if you can relax the head of the arm bones as they plug into the chest. Relax all your facial muscles, starting at the hairline, coming down to your forehead, down your cheeks, and your jaw and your tongue. At the beginning of practice, we mentioned shaking an Etch-a-Sketch clean, this being an opportunity to transform the brain's relationship with our body's tissues through the application of these soft tissue techniques. Your brain can also develop that same relationship with your personal characteristics. None of those are set in stone either. And so when you allow yourself to get really calm, that's another way to reset your brain's tendencies and its relationships with your personal characteristics. I think that's why we find so many stress relief benefits from this practice. Feeling that sense of renewal, maybe moving around in the body a little bit, if it feels ready and like it's time to do that for you. And if you're ready to end your practice in a seated position, take your time and meet in a seat. Great job on making it through today's practice. With every practice that you do with us, I really hope that you feel like life is possible without aches and pains for you. That every class is bringing you closer and closer to the place where things feel pretty good most of the time. You know, all things considered, everything that we're dealing with in our life, we want to be in a place of maximum enjoyment from the time that we're given here. Thank you so much for joining. And for anybody who's newer to us at Yoga in Your Living Room, I give you a very big welcome. And if you want to stick around for a moment, I'll tell you how to get closer to us online. So if you are brand new to us, make sure you head over to yogainyourlivingroom.com. That's our website, and it's the mothership of pretty much everything that we're doing online. We do a ton of stuff on a donation basis, so you can access things for free without giving us anything. And going to the website will help you figure out which places to get it in. Besides that, the best thing you can do to support us, of course, is donate to us. That definitely helps us. And if you're not ready to donate to us, then at least give the algorithms what they like to do good things for us, which is subscribe, like, comment, share, anything you can do to engage with this content is a very big plus for us, and it helps us tremendously, even though it seems totally silly, which it is, but just do it. Thanks for joining, and we will see you back here very soon.